Hey everybody! Welcome to Friday the 13th, the series. I'm your producer, Robert.
And I'm your host, Hill Street.
And after a complete, spoiler-filled recap of the episode, we are going to discuss the show you either just learned existed or always wondered how it existed. We promise the answers will be few and far between because we're just here to have some goofity fun exploring a show that, despite or possibly even because of its faults, isn't good and isn't so bad it's good, but is still somehow oddly charming. Let's dive in, shall we? Full disclosure, Hill Street and I have seen episodes 1 through 10 only, and Hill Street literally received the script about 2 minutes ago and is now going to boldly read through it for the very first time. Are you ready, Hill Street?
Oh, I'm ready.
Action.
Episode 10, Tales of the Undead. Ooh-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Just so you guys know, I added the ooh-hoo-hoo-hoo. That wasn't in the title.
Okay. Full credit where it's due.
Yeah, that was all me. We start in a comic book... Oh, good start. Good start. I love when I flub up the first 5 words.
All right, get cozy. This is going to be a long record session.
Yep. We start in a comic book store, and I believe it's a real comic book store. Wow, comic book is hard to say. Comic book. Okay. We start in a comic book store, and I believe it's a real comic book store. For all the grief we give this series, it is laudable how... Oh, no. Don't start this way. Don't do this, brain. Come on, you can do this. Focus! For all the grief we give this series, it is laudable how much they shoot on location. I believe that's true of The Littlest Hobo as well. Maybe you were right, Hill Street. Maybe Canada didn't have any production studios or sound stages back when these were made. I mean, I will say, just gonna jump in there for a second, when I've had to shoot things like low budget, it's sometimes easier to shoot on location because having to create that stuff in a studio is expensive versus going to the local bookstore and being like, hey, can we shoot here? We'll advertise for you. And they're like, sure, we'll give it to you for the day, So I don't know how they went about getting these locations, but sometimes that's cheaper than having to create all this stuff in a studio.
Well, speaking of independent film and small shoots, as this show has taught us, there are no laws in Canada. So it's not like they have to deal with film permits.
Right.
Maybe these are all stolen shots. They just roll up out of location, very quickly get out, shoot one take, wrap everything up before the owner can come out with a meat cleaver and threaten them off.
Exactly. That seems insane because a soundstage is basically just a glorified warehouse with padded walls, but I can't explain it any other way unless Canadians just harbor a rugged explorer mentality that compels them to film out in the world. Well, I just explained it. You're welcome. Cal, a teenage shoplifter, slips a comic book into his coat before noticing a locked display box containing a signed first issue of Tales of the Undead, a horror TV show about a horror comic book? Awesome. Alas, no. Despite the title, against all odds, it's a sci-fi comic book about a superhero spaceman named Ferris. Just to remind you, this is the 80s. Props department, despite the sea of reference material around you, you opted to write out issue 1 in letters, the way no comic book ever has. I want you to sit in the corner and think about what you've done. I guess to alleviate suspicion, Cal buys 1 comic for every one he steals. What a good guy. At the register, he talks to the owner, Charlie, and we hit peak verisimilitude. Okay. At the register, he talks to the owner, Charlie, and we hit peak verisimilitude as this man was born to play a comic book store owner. As they discuss the impending auction of Tales of the Undead, Cal exhibits a smile that's creepy on 2 levels. 1, it's weirdly narrow and slid to one side of his face, creating a disconcerting asymmetry. 2, despite looking like he wandered off the set of Saved by the Bell, his teeth are gnarly. But it all adds to the creep factor, so no complaints on this one, just pointing it out. As he leaves, Cal drops his contact info into a raffle box, hoping to win a year of free issues. Whoa! Enter Ryan. Hey, this moment was actually set up 2 episodes ago in the boxing episode when Ryan mentioned selling his Green Lantern comic book. When Ryan mentions...
You said the comic book is hard to say, and ironically, I went through the script moments ago and took out a lot of the comic book and just shortened it to comic, and yet now you're adding back book.
I know, my brain just added it.
Well, feel free, whatever's easier.
It's definitely not easier, I just did it.
You just like making life difficult for yourself?
Yeah, I just want to keep redoing these lines over and over, it's fun. Hey, this moment was actually set up 2 episodes ago in the boxing episode when Ryan mentioned selling his Green Lantern comic. Yeah, the show not only references real comics, they are real comics in some of these shots. I'm going to allege they did not have permission from the comic publishers, just as I'll allege they didn't ask permission from Paramount to call the series Friday the 13th. Not that they needed it, just establishing precedent, Your Honor. Ryan claims he's receiving a PhD in comic art from all the books he buys, so more continuity with his established history of being a commercial art school dropout. This is great. I mean, it's a little redundant, Ryan and the Charlie.
Proofread this up until 30 minutes ago, so there's going to be some mistakes.
There's like a major delay or something.
Discord's acting up.
So you were frozen, and then all of a sudden all your audio came at once at quadruple speed. It was like... blah, 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 blah.
Okay. No, that's just how I speak.
Okay. Well, good.
I'm always in auctioneer mode.
I'm assuming there's just no the in front of Charlie, right?
Oh, wow, we're back there. Yes.
Oh, no, it's going to happen again.
It used to say the comic book store owner, but it should just be Ryan and Charlie.
Okay. I mean, it's a little redundant. Ryan and Charlie have essentially the same conversation about the prized issue of Tales of the Undead that Cal and Charlie just had, but we're still flying high. What happened?
A delay happened.
Oh, okay. Well, I read the line perfectly. Yay. Now Cal is openly attempting to pick the lock on the case. Yep, our left engine just exploded. Now Cal is shoving Charlie aside and punching through the glass, and there goes the right engine. Cal absolutely mangles the book the way no true collector or even casual thief would. So now we seem to be venting fuel to boot. You know what? That's a great point. I didn't even consider until you just said that. They would never do that. A collector would never mangle the book like that.
How badly they manhandle that book.
Yeah, what the hell?
A collector wouldn't because they value it, and a thief wouldn't because they know it would reduce its value.
Yeah, what the hell? That's really funny.
Scrunches the thing up like old newspaper, like he's about to use it to kindle his barbecue fire.
They do it through the whole show, too. They're always, like, crinkling it up and, like, making it into a tube and smacking people with it and yeah, that's so funny. And then they talk about how precious it is.
Yeah, exactly. One of this show's many delightful contradictions.
That's funny. Finally, with the threat of a call to the police, the world switches from live action to drawn comic book panels to conceal they didn't have budget enough for a transformation effect as Cal becomes superhero spaceman Ferris the Invincible, and we just blew up. Yeah, I'm just going to throw it out there right now, just so you and our listeners are prepared. I have a lot of issues with this episode. A lot.
Anytime. So yeah, I take it you were not a big fan of that transition sequence?
No, it was so stupid. I was like, I know that you guys don't have a big budget, but this? And then when he actually transforms into the thing, I was like, what the hell is this costume? This looks like they took cardboard and spray painted it and put it on him. And then the slow motion with the walk, I was like, this costume is so bad. Please don't put it in slow motion. And then the weird, like, penguin-y walk that he does. I'm like, is anything about this supposed to be creepy? Because it looks ridiculous. I wasn't a big fan of most of this.
And the first time it happened, I thought, oh, this must be a kid with psychic powers because the lights change, the walls shake like there's an earthquake, and he gets that look in his face.
Exactly.
So I thought the kid had the power, and then I was like, oh, maybe it's warping reality. Is that what's happening? Like, he's calling in comic book characters from, like, another dimension, or, like, he can make fictional things real. And, like, is that what's happening? Oh, no, he became Ferris.
And also, like, it should be the comic book turns you into, like, whatever character you like the most. It shouldn't always be the same one, because that one was so stupid looking. It would have been more interesting if whoever held the book turned into a different, like, you know what I mean? That would have been so much better.
Character from the series.
Yeah, a different character, a different hero or villain or whatever. I mean, maybe that's too above their budget because they would have had to have created different costumes, but I'm not kidding. This costume they created...
Then they would have needed to flesh out an entire world of fictional characters, Hill Street. They didn't have silver package level budget here. No banners, no posters, no prizes.
Yeah, I know it would have been a much bigger budget to create more characters, but then at the very least, this character they created needed to be better looking. This thing was so stupid. I couldn't stand to look at it. Every time he came up, I was like, and the way it moved killed me the most because it was like teetering back and forth because I feel like the actor couldn't move in the thing. It was just bad. This was a really dumb one.
Clearly someone on the production was a big fan of Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail because they basically just ripped off the Black Knight costume.
Yes, that's what they look like. You're right. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yes, that's funny. Ferris picks Charlie up by the throat, then hurls him to the ground. This kills him, but don't blame yourself for not realizing that at the time. It's not the worst offense this episode will make, but the change in lighting, disappearance of the customers, and slow motion left me unsure if this was a reality warping situation, but that's just my own comic book knowledge bleeding over. I had the exact same thought, if that makes you feel better, so.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah.
And also the psychic kid possibility?
Yeah, that was my first thought, was that I was like, oh, this is, yeah, that's what I first thought. And then, yeah, it took me a while to realize what was actually going on.
Then you realize, oh, this comic book is going to be our curio. Oh, God.
Yeah. Yep. Which also makes no sense, because why would the comic book be in an antique store? That's going to be in a comic book store.
Yes, far more likely.
Going back to curios that make no sense in Curious Goods.
Yes, and?
Yeah, just makes no sense. Why would they randomly have one comic book and say it's an antique? No, it's going to be in a comic book store. It's goofy.
That's two things that they've done back to back now that we'll discuss the other one later.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a hint. It has to do with how incompetent our leads are.
Ryan re-enters the store and gapes dumb. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Should do vocal warm-ups before this.
Red leather, yellow leather.
I was just going to say, the lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. Ryan re-enters the store and gapes dumbly at a 7-foot-tall black space knight in platform boots until it comes over and slugs him in the back? Odd but effective choice since Ryan is sent flying. I'll actually cut Ryan some slack and assume, like any real comic book fan, he was transfixed, noting every way this Ferris's costume differs from his favorite artist's depiction. Hashtag not my Ferris. That's funny.
So I know you're not a big fan of the costume Hill Street, but honestly, how badly did you want Ferris's boots?
So bad. I probably have them. Let's be real. If they're Frankenstein-looking things, I probably have some version of them.
Fair.
Yeah, those were pretty sweet. The low-angle shot of Ryan hitting the ground was a great choice, but now we have to cut out of the scene as Ryan watches a giant comic book monster just stroll out the front door onto Main Street. Ryan? He's big, but slow. Not telling you how to do your job, but maybe pick yourself up and give chase, buddy. Too ambitious? Maybe call the cops? I'm guessing as a collector himself, Ryan stepped over Charlie's dead body several times as he carefully put any fallen issues back on the rack. Curious Goods from still another new angle, possibly the most dynamic yet, with strong 2, almost 3-point perspective. Makes me wonder if the director of photography was an aspiring comic book artist himself. Many of the other directors shot down at it, diminishing it, but this low angle really conveys the height of the building and reminds me of the Ghostbusters firehouse. And we get a car turning the corner. Dang, this establishing shot might be the best single composition of the whole episode. Actually, inside, things are looking pretty good too. Nice cinematic shallow depth of field. The lighting is pretty good. Mickey and Ryan's hair and makeup are on point. We even get a fun low angle. I'm noticing a theme here. Looking straight up at Ryan, who's holding a fragment from Ferris's armor that he's examining with a magnifying glass that distorts a portion of his face. Creative. I can't for the life of me figure out why he isn't holding the magnifying glass by its handle, but I'll look the other way.
What did you think of Mickey and Ryan's costume and makeup in this one?
I didn't notice their costumes as much. Well, you know what? That's not true. I liked her blue dress with the belt. I really, really liked that. That stood out to me a lot. But I did notice that both their hair and makeup was very strong in this episode, possibly the strongest I've seen yet.
Yeah, agreed. Do you headcanon it that little by little, we've noticed that they've started giving John D. LeMay, the actor who plays Ryan, proper wardrobe?
Yes.
Do you think that's a conscious choice, that he's trying to impress his cousin Mickey?
I don't know if they're doing it to make him impress Mickey, but I do think they want us to see him as less goofy and more as like a viable option for her, because they've made him less goofy too. They've made him a more attractive character.
Less comedic relief, more leading man.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I feel like at the beginning, the idea of their flirtation was funny to the writers, and then they were like, I actually like this.
Against all odds.
Yeah, and then I feel...
Against all which is holy. They're like, yeah, let's lean into this.
Yeah, exactly. I think that they were like, maybe we need to take this more seriously.
Instead of retconning this as God intended, let's lean into it hard.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that they were like, maybe we need to play him a little more seriously, because there needs to be something appealing about him.
And may God have mercy on our souls.
Yeah. What I cannot overlook is Mickey massaging Ryan's injured arm. I know we'll have to agree to disagree on this one, Hill Street, but cousins, in-law, or otherwise, please don't massage your relations. Mickey suggests the comic is in the sales manifest under something other than comic book, because Uncle Lewis wouldn't use that term. That's a stretch, since Ryan would also know any other name Uncle Lewis might use, such as Funny Book or maybe Pulp. No, to justify why Ryan did notice it, Uncle Lewis listed it as a magazine. Not buying it, but moving on. Wait, not moving on. The sales manifest also contains the names of everyone Uncle Lewis bought the antiques from. An interesting wrinkle and fortuitous?
Fortuitous.
An interesting wrinkle and fortuitous, since the person Uncle Lewis sold it to recently died, but this begs the question, were these items already all cursed when Uncle Lewis acquired them? I guess so. Many did have exotic and blood-soaked backstories, but if they were already cursed and already out in the world sowing evil? Sowing evil?
Sowing evil.
Okay.
You're only hearing what you want to hear, Hill Street.
But if they were already cursed and already out in the world sowing evil, why did they all have to be funneled through Uncle Lewis's store? Why did the devil have to hire a middleman? Or did Uncle Lewis strong-arm old Scratch into becoming a fallen angel investor? Did he pile them up and stand before the Lord of the Flies with a bucket full of holy water, threatening to consecrate all Beelzebub's best stuff if he wasn't granted wealth and immortality? Hopefully time will tell.
Can we just do the threatening to consecrate all Beelzebub's best stuff?
Beelzebub. What is it? Beelzebub's?
I believe it's pronounced Beelzebub.
Beelzebub. I can't say that.
You can't say Beelzebub?
Beelzebub.
How does that not come up all the time in your line of interests and hobbies?
It really doesn't. Say it again.
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub.
Oh yeah, I can splice that
Beelzebub.
in. Can we smooth out a couple of wrinkles? I don't think I...
Threatening to consecrate all Beelzebub. Best stuff.
I'll switch
They won't
to
notice.
my own voice saying it. Oh, man. Okay. Well, you won this round. I'm just going to leave in this goofity nonsense, and you don't have to pronounce it right. Let's keep moving on. We don't have time for this.
Okay. We no time for this.
I've got to get to the chopper. There's no time. Are you currently using like some kind of, not an asthma device, but some kind of nasal inhaler? Like some medication you have to snort?
Pretty much all my life, yes.
Are you snorting Smarties again, Hill Street?
Yes, that's how I live. I just have smarty brain.
It's just good podcast prep right there.
And pixie dust. Okay. The next 7 minutes can be summed up thusly. Ryan reveals... God damn it, I'm just struggling today. I've had a good few runs the past few times we've recorded, like not a lot of mess ups, but
you really have.
I know. Now I feel like I'm back to the first episode. There was nothing like the first episode though. The first episode I could not get through 5 lines.
I was gonna say you've really improved over time.
I know.
Not that you weren't good the first time, but
yeah, I have.
It's like, oh yeah, the more we do this, the better she's getting. And believe it or not, I try to add more commas, and I don't write shorter sentences, but I try to add more commas and do what I can to emphasize certain words so that when you do your first pass, the emphasis is in the right places.
Yeah, no, it is really helpful because, when you're reading something for the first time, it's hard to read it out loud for the first time like that, but...
That's why it's funny.
Hey, you've gotten better at it, and I've gotten better at it too, but I'm a little struggling today. But that's okay. Here we go.
These are the jokes, people. Just fair warning, this is going to be a long stretch of commas, so there's a lot of different thoughts here. Just do your best with it.
Okay. The next 7 minutes can be summed up thusly. Ryan reveals the previous owner, Jay Starr, was the comic book's creator, had his work stolen by his company, and died penniless, but Mickey provides an address. Ryan goes to meet his artistic idol. They talk about how Jay was robbed by his company. Ryan tells him about Ferris being real, and Jay basically laughs him right out the front door. Now for the interesting stuff. Jay, who changed his name back when he created Ferris, is probably an amalgamation. Jay, who changed his name back when he created Ferris, is probably an amalgamation of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, both of whom are legends in the world of comics and both of whom changed their names to hide their Jewish heritage for professional reasons. Also, Jack is the poster boy for how badly the comic book industry can rob and mistreat its creators and storytellers. To imagine what Jay looks like, picture Burgess Meredith wearing a Jack Palance mask.
Jack Palance, sorry.
That's okay. To imagine what Jay looks like, picture Burgess Meredith wearing a Jack Palance mask. But does Jay Starr live in a flop house? No. He lives in a goddamn mansion on a vast estate, and he seemingly has no family to provide for and no apparent use for money after a couple more years. Yes, he claims he had to sell some early issues of Ferris he hung on to, and he might well have been robbed by his company, but he lives in a mansion, a villa, a palatial estate. Do you not see the contradiction, show? What are you trying to convey? And Jay says he not only knows Charlie and his store, but he's been there several times? How could Ryan not know that? How could there be a rumor Jay is dead? Maybe if he lived in a different country half a world away, but not in the same town where he makes frequent appearances.
Did your brain also fold in on itself when you saw the size of Jay's house?
Yes, it just makes no sense.
Yeah, you just moments ago established this idea that he died penniless, and that's a perfectly great idea for the story, and then he rolls up to a McMansion. Oh, I'm sorry. No, not a McMansion. A mansion.
Yeah, I know. It just, yeah, I don't know.
Wild.
I don't know how they don't think about things like that.
It doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Oh, and he has a comic book award on his table. That's the Cupid statue from episode 3, Redux. What's Redux?
Basically done again, redone.
First, it's also way too big at probably almost 3 feet tall. Second, you can see the brushstrokes from where they just covered wood or cardboard in gold paint. Third, even the base purports to be gold, so the prop department couldn't have been bothered to pick a second type of paint to use. Granted, golden globes are only one material, but I think that's actually a point toward my argument. This thing could easily take first prize on the prop department version of Netflix's Nailed It. And yes, it's technically set dressing now, but will rise to the rank of prop soon enough. Sure does. Ryan is as stylish in this episode as he's ever been, rocking not only a jaunty silk scarf, but a sleek leather jacket with a collar so popped any more would legally require it to be registered as a fixed-wing aircraft. Great. So why does he have what I believe are beige, wool-lined leather gloves mashed into a giant pocket on the coat's right side? He never wears them, and at times they look more like he has a crumpled paper bag jammed in there, but protruding halfway to his armpit. Whose idea was this? And on the subject of his jacket, there's no way he keeps a folded copy of Ferris in an internal pocket for Jay to sign. No way. The shingles on the mansion's roof create camera aliasing as Ryan drives off. Then, just to put a bow on this amateur hour house nonsense, in a wide, high-angle shot of Jay rising from the thrift store couch in his stately Xandu's living room, his shoe jostles what looks like a newspaper or something that's been on the ground since the scene started for reasons this production will take to its grave.
Yeah, did you happen to notice that newspaper, I guess, on the floor of the room?
I did not. No, I didn't.
Okay, did you also feel like that furniture belonged in like a Midwestern matron's living room and not a giant mansion?
Yeah, it was weird. It was really, really weird. I feel like they just went to their warehouse and said, okay, what do we got in here? Oh, we don't have something for that. Someone just brings something in from home. Whatever you got is fine.
Yeah, this is presumably an old bachelor that lives alone in a mansion.
Yeah.
It should be naught but leather and wood.
Yeah.
But for some reason, there's doilies on the back of this upholstered couch.
Yeah, it was very weird.
And that's really saying something coming from me. I mean,
I know that
you've seen how I live.
That is really saying something coming from you, because this man has the most random pieces of furniture ever and has had the same ones forever.
Never bought a couch in my life, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, not a furniture guy.
I say this literally lying on the couch in my living room that's a couple decades old probably. I don't know, because I got it for free. It's a flower print, but it's been covered in this couch cover we bought somewhere for the last decade.
Yep, this is all true. I can attest. And this all plays out against acting and music clearly trying to wring every last drop of tragedy and pathos out of this material. The real tragedy is how close they came. If they only had a little more time for one last rewrite, one more take, and one final chance to check the frame. Back in Charlie's comic book store, a young woman is placing personal effects into a box and knocks an issue of Tales of the Undead off its desktop display rack. Well, that must mean something, right? I mean, no dialogue was even spoken, and it's the very first moments of a shot that will involve camera movement, so, of course, the director would have called, cut, and they would have done a second take, right? Nope. I admit, I've nitpicked things like actors speaking over each other only to rewatch The Verdict and discover even one of its more complicated scenes as a moment of an actor stepping on Paul Newman's line, or maybe the other way around, but this is sloppy, distracting, and baffling.
Did you pick up on the fact that was supposed to be Charlie's daughter?
No.
I only know that from the credits.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't catch that at all. How were we supposed to catch that?
I would have never guessed that otherwise.
Yeah, this show is so weird. She encounters Jay, which is unfortunate since Ray Walton, the actor who plays him, is a master thespian, while she gives as weak a performance as we've seen since the nurses back in the very first episode.
Oh, you remember them?
Oh, I remember them.
You remember me calling them out?
Yeah, I do. I hope our listeners do too. For the record, she was played by Jen Griffin in one of her first TV roles, and she's still working in film and television today, so one assumes she's improved. In another Jay moment of the dialogue failing to match what we're experiencing in the scene, she tells him they aren't open, he asks to sit down, she grants his request, he walks over to the raffle box on the sales desk, dismisses her, she leaves, and he digs through it to find Cal's contact information. Why was the front door unlocked if they aren't open? Where was he going to sit given that the store doesn't seem to have a single chair? Why did she just stare at him until he dismissed her? Why did she leave when he dismissed her? Why can video games be faintly heard? Why did Cal put his street address, but no city or zip, and his phone number, but no area code? Even if Jay comes in often enough to know there was a raffle going on, how is Cal wanting a year of free Tales of the Undead enough for Jay to conclude this raffle entrant is connected to what Ryan saw? Entrant?
No, you had it right. Entrant.
Is he the only customer who wants a year of the super popular Tales of the Undead? Maybe, since there aren't very many entrants for a raffle with no entrance fee. Stumbled. Maybe, since there aren't very many entrants for a raffle with no entrance fee.
Well, I will catch you Hill Street.
Come to think of it, why is it called Tales of the Undead when a far more likely title would be Ferris the Invincible? Yes, Batman first appeared in Detective Comics and Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy, but we learn Ferris's backstory and it doesn't have anything to do with the undead. It's a sci-fi superhero book about a kid who found a comic that turns him into a space knight. Well, it doesn't make a lick of sense, but Jay struck gold and has proven himself to be a far better detective than Ryan. He walks out of the store and into Cal's bedroom? What the hell? How did this guy waltz into what should be two locked buildings back to back? Is he a superhero? Can he phase through walls?
Were you as blown away by that as I was?
Yeah, I was so confused. I had to back it up and I was like, wait, what just happened? And I was like, oh, okay.
I had to keep speculating to myself about whether or not it was his bedroom or not. But even if it was an office, it doesn't matter. He just slips into places. He does it multiple times throughout this episode.
It was so confusing. Based on the phone conversation Jay overhears, Cal's big plan for nigh infinite power is for the company that publishes Tales of the Undead to hire him to do publicity events. Aim higher.
I'm just going to jump in real quick, Hill Street, because I know billions of people the world over are going to say, well, Jay does have a line about you shouldn't leave your front door unlocked before he steps into Cal's bedroom. But even so, it can't be an apartment building because then Cal wouldn't be responsible for leaving the front door open. So one assumes it's a house. He's a teenager. So still, Jay would have had to waltz past most likely parents, other siblings.
Right.
Even if he didn't, that was awfully gutsy, just strolling into someone's house, walking upstairs, and then entering this kid's bedroom.
Yeah, that's a good point that I didn't think about, but that is interesting.
I guess he has the confidence of old age.
Yep, that old age does give you a lot. It gives you the I don't give a fuck anymore confidence.
Exactly.
When Jay introduces himself, Cal requests proof, and I actually like Jay offering his medication bottle as proof of ID. Gotta admit, it's novel. Cal proceeds to offer Jay a chair, exactly the way no one his age and temperament would ever think to do. True that. The distant police sirens and car horn are a nice touch, adding a subtle element of danger to the moment. When Jay requests his comic book back, Cal once again casually and needlessly scrunches it up, depreciating it by another 10 grand or so. Cal claims Jay doesn't know what he went through for the comic. Didn't you see it, steal it, turn into your favorite superhero, then kill a man with no effort, all on a whim? Where was the effort, precisely? I think you meant, you don't know what I did to get this. With the aid of another transition sequence courtesy of a courtroom sketch artist, Cal becomes Ferris. Jay somehow pulls the 3-foot comic award of a gold lightning bolt out of his coat. He impales the invincible Ferris with it, then we switch to drawn comic panels again for the transition back to Cal, whose kryptonite was, apparently, half-assed prop department failures. Instead of complaining none of this makes sense, I'm just gonna believe the production ended up with a pile of useless footage from an unproduced Aha music video, and turning lemons into lemonade, crafted an episode around it. Commercial break!
Do you know which video I'm referring to?
Oh yeah, the...
Take on Me?
It's the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, we can't hum it?
Oh yeah, please go on.
If you hum
go
anymore,
on.
the algorithms will find us and fine us. Some shows have a monster of the week. This series has a curio of the week. And so do we. Believe me, no one paid us for the following endorsements. And once they hear the show, it's more likely they'll pay us to retract them. We just want to share some cool things with you while simultaneously using our platform to give a little free promotion to those without a massive advertising budget. So, Hill Street, what is your curio of the week?
My curio of the week is an escape room in California called Black Market Escape Rooms, which I feel that you will like this one, my friend, because you've been there. It's a very, very unique escape room for people who like escape rooms and being terrified. It's very intense, be warned. They kind of market to a special type of person who likes to be really immersed in the experience. To give you an overview of Black Market Escape Rooms.
You start by driving out to the middle of nowhere.
Yep, and then you're not really sure you're in the right place. You are in a really sketchy parking lot, and then you go like buzz the building, and they make it seem like they don't really want you there. All a part of the experience, which I appreciate that they get you into the experience right off the bat.
Yes, truly the Ed DeBevics of escape rooms.
You know what? Even before you go there, the website makes you feel like you're really not sure you want to do this. The website makes it seem like you could get hurt. It seems very sketchy. Again, part of the experience.
It was more intimidating than skydiving, where you have to sign a form saying, I realize I can get hurt, die, and I understand there's no reason for me to be doing this.
Yeah, their waiver was something. And then you go in and they start right the second you get in the building. They're already kind of terrorizing you. But long story short, or at least I'm going to try, there's 4 different serial killers that you can pick from which one you want to terrorize you throughout the experience. I think there's a clown, an army guy, a mad scientist, and a transvestite.
I'll take your word on that.
Proper term.
I only did it once.
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking me about the term?
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Pot in the kettle here, blind leading the blind.
I know. And I don't know what the term is anymore. I'm trying to think. It's not transvestite. It's I don't think cross-dresser's right anymore either.
Person in the clothing of the other gender?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me Google that. Hold on. Pause for me.
I honestly can't even believe that's still an option.
I know, but...
It seems like a real sticky wicket. I can't believe they still offer that.
Yeah, I mean, transvestite is still a term that's used, so we'll just go with that.
Like, do you think they're doing it to try to attract an LGBTQ plus audience?
I just think they think it's, I mean, the guy was weird. Like, you can leave this off, but remember he was like, it's too bad you didn't pick the transvestite, because he rapes the guys in your group. And we were like, was that supposed to appeal to us? He was just a weird guy. The transvestite character was like really vulgar from what I gathered. That's why we did not pick him either time.
This is turning into a very odd curio.
Yeah, we'll cut that part out. But
you do still heartily endorse this, right?
Well, that's the thing. So for the people who like this type of thing, it's obviously very fun and addicting, because my friends that I went with the first time were like dying to go back. They were like all they could talk about. We have to go back and try it again. So people who think that it's fun to go through a really scary, tense experience like that, it's very unique and cool. It's beautifully done. They do a beautiful job with it. The place was designed and decorated by the same person who designed and decorated Haunted Mansion. So it's very well done. The actual escape room puzzles, they swear up and down, are not actually challenging. You're just so tense the whole time that it's hard to think straight. The first time we went, we could not figure out this one puzzle because like we couldn't get the numbers to match up. And they said, oh, it's not hard. It's really easy. But then when we went back, that one was gone. And I think it's because we couldn't see it well or something, because all the other puzzles stayed the same. But that one was gone. But we didn't even get through 30% of it the first time. And the people I went with were very, very experienced with escape rooms. So I think it's because we were just so tense, because we picked the killer clown the first time.
And why did you pick the killer clown, Hill Street?
Oh, I don't know. It was just totally random.
Did it have anything to do with Pennywise?
Yeah, I'm obsessed with clowns. I love killer clowns.
Come on, guys. We could pick anyone. You know, anyone, like the clown or anyone. Or the clown. Oh, wait. I said that already.
Yeah, I immediately picked the clown. And he was great. The actor was really fun. And they will touch you, I will mention. They don't hurt you, obviously. But, like, he would give me, like, little pushes on my shoulder or grab me by the arm at times just to make it more intense. And it is quite intense. They will scream at you and startle you, and they jump out, and they'll have, like, chainsaws near you and stuff while you're trying to solve puzzles. So we went and did it the first time. We only made it 30% of the way through. We went back a second time, and we made it like 98% of the way through. We were almost done with a final puzzle, which got us out the door, and we didn't finish quite in time. The second time we picked, I think, the mad scientist. And at the end, when you don't finish, they quote-unquote kill you. The clown killed us by, like, he was going to saw our heads off or with a chainsaw. So he was swinging the chainsaw around us while he made us get down on our knees and, like, bend our heads down.
Yes, he did.
Yep. Oh, you were there for the clown?
No, mad scientist.
Okay, that's what I thought. The mad scientist one, well, maybe it's a spoiler. Maybe I won't tell them how the mad scientist kills you, but that one really triggered me. Like the whole time I was calm with both of these, even though it was startling, but the way the mad scientist killed us, like that actually sent me into a panic. I did not like that. That one really bothered me, even though it's like, for people who are hearing this, it might be like, oh my God, it's not a big deal. Just for me, it made me claustrophobic. And I did not like that.
Oh no, once the Stockholm syndrome kicks in, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You won't be able to wait to get back.
I feel like Black Market's going to sue me because they're going to be like, you didn't make this sound fun at all. It is fun. It's fun. It's well done. It's really cool. My friends were obsessed with it, but it has to be your thing. You have to be prepared for something that's intense. They also offer a longer escape room where all 4 of the killers are coming at you at once. And that one, they said, is very intense. They said you have to be prepared. It's very intense. They, I guess, spray fake blood all over you. It's gory. And that one did not appeal to me. That sounded too intense even for me. I was like, I'm going to be so stressed the whole time.
And if you're seated in the first 3 rows, you may get wet.
You are in the splash zone. But I recommend that place. I think it's really well done. I think it's cool and interesting and unique. And if you're into horror like we are, I think it's fun. So I'm recommending it. But again, it's got to be your thing. I mean, I love horror. I love intense. And even I was like, whoa.
No, I will yes and you. I had a wonderful time. I would happily do it again. And I'm excited you found a curio that might actually get us sued endorsing a product that we're not even being paid for.
What town is it in again? Where in Cal? I could not remember the name of the town. Do you remember?
Was it Monrovia, Palo Alto, Altadena? Any of those sounding right?
Whoa. No, it wasn't that.
Ontario?
Let me see. See if I can find it.
Pomona?
Upland.
Oh, figures. It's east of Los Angeles. Let's put it that way.
So go check it out. Let us know what you think.
Ballpark it at 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, depending on traffic.
Yeah. Yep.
Do they have a website?
Yeah, let me look at that. It's
not so much a website. You have to get on the dark web, and then you have to ask for White Rabbit 62.
It's BMERINC.com. See, they like to keep it mysterious. They call themselves the scariest escape room in the world.
And they ain't playing.
Mm-mm.
Just ask Goat Slayer 6666.
Looks like they might have added a few things in. There's Murder Co., Pure Evil, which is where all 4 of them come after you, and then there's Murder Co., which is what we did. But now I see something called The Harvest, Rise of Apex. I don't know what that is. Someone go do it and let us know.
They've added insanity mode. It's now just a Doom game.
Yeah. Interesting.
If you survive, let us know.
Yeah. Very interesting.
My curio of the week is the 1998 Lucasfilm classic adventure game Grim Fandango. It won GameSpot's Game of the Year award when it was released, and has gone on to become a beloved classic of the genre. You play as Manny Calavera, a travel agent helping the recently departed reach the afterlife. When you discover a conspiracy preventing souls from moving on, you'll embark on an epic quest to set things right that plays out in a unique world that's equal parts Casablanca and Dia de los Muertos. Unlike some other famous adventure games, its puzzles are challenging but solvable. And thanks to a remaster, its stylized graphics, wonderful acting, and lush score have never looked or sounded better. It was a masterpiece then, and it's a masterpiece now. If you enjoy vintage adventure games, download it today. All right, how you doing? How's the voice?
I'm okay.
Okay.
In a quiet, character-revealing scene back at Curious Goods, Mickey mocks comic books and questions their value. Ryan explains that they serve as a power fantasy for children who all, to one degree or another, fear the world around them, and it's good. It's a really good scene. Maybe the best of the series so far. I finally got there, Hill Street. I'm now a John D. LeMay fan. Finally! Thank God. I'm just worried Ryan's fearless, self-revealed vulnerability inadvertently seduces Mickey, but there's no evidence of that here, so we're all good. Ryan stumbles across news of Cal's death in a newspaper, picture and all, so off they go to investigate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the timeline doesn't line up correctly based on when newspapers come out. But to be fair, I think the recent Sony's Madam Web had that exact same issue, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
Then again, not exactly an exemplar of great filmmaking, so.
That is fair. At the crime scene they must have busted through police tape to gain access to, Mickey questions how anyone could have killed Cal if he can transform into Ferris the Invincible. Yeah, exactly. Hey, show, are you attempting reverse psychology? They find Cal's notepad with Carmine DiMattio's?
I think it would be Carmine DiMattio.
They find Cal's notepad with Carmine DiMattio's name and number on it. he's yet another Paisan and the owner of the comic book company Cal called earlier, hoping to use near limitless power to earn minimum wage as a corporate mascot. So that makes a Cal, a Charlie, and a Carmine all introduced in this episode. I guess we'll soon meet Carl, Carol, Carson, and welcome special guest star Art Carney. That is a lot of C names for one episode.
It really is.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do you know who Art Carney is? Are you familiar with the Honeymooners series?
No.
Jackie Gleason. Oh, it's too bad.
Sorry.
Great stuff.
Yeah. Not sure what they're going for with Carmine's office, but like Jay's house, it's a beautiful location filled with dime store crap. In this case, a child's dinosaur skeleton, a bird from Disney's Tiki Room, and a lamp composed entirely of glowing roses? In the Tiki Room.
Well, this is a very musical episode we've got going.
I know, right? Let's sing some more. It's telling that in a scene in which the drama should hang on Mickey and Ryan interrogating a light-lipped... I cannot talk today. It's telling that in a scene in which the drama should hang on Mickey and Ryan interrogating a tight-lipped businessman, they meekly ask only 2 questions, and even those they only squeeze between the fire hose of exposition Carmine spews. Namely, Jay once tried to kill off Ferris in the comics, and those pages might be sold at the same auction at which Carly was going to sell Tales of the Undead #1. How the hell did...
so close.
I screw up?
I heard Carly. It's Charlie?
Oh, did I say Carly? Okay.
I believe so.
All right.
See, all those C names.
I know. What the hell? Namely, Jay once tried to kill off Ferris in the comics, and those pages might be sold at the same auction at which Charlie was going to sell Tales of the Undead #1. How the hell did Caro get this man's number, and how the hell did Mickey and Ryan get this after-hours meeting with the man? For the character that should be the villain...
I'm sorry, you're doing absolutely great, but I think this was... these C names. I think that was supposed to be Cal. How the hell did Cal get this man's number?
Okay.
I think I got confused with all the C's flying around.
Okay. How the hell did Cal get this man's number, and how the hell did Mickey and Ryan get this after-hours meeting with the man? For the character that should be the villain, or at least a villain, if we're adhering to comic book industry history, he comes across as the world's nicest guy. Great shot looking straight down as Jay ascends the Zool building staircase. Unlike the Ghostbusters, I'm pretty sure he could have used the elevator. I guess getting in your steps is how you stay vital enough in your autumn years to impale a space god. Carmine hears a noise, rises to investigate, takes 10 steps, gives up, turns, and discovers Jay in his chair. Jay, what are you? It was the 80s, so you're one of those American ninjas, right? Oh, in this context, kids, American meant white.
Yeah, we were stunned by that as I was.
Yeah.
I don't know why they gave him slasher-esque teleportation powers.
It made it confusing. I was a little confused by them adding that in.
Yeah, and the way that they set him up to be the underdog and then just immediately turn the tables.
I know.
And he's a villain
Yeah,
all the way
it was
through.
It didn't, yeah, I don't know. He was, yeah, I know. He was like a dick. Sorry.
It breaks your brain, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't even, yeah.
Like, what do you even say about it? It's such an odd choice.
Yeah, I don't, it was just so, this whole episode was an odd choice to me through and through. Like, this whole thing just, I was like, what? Why? Like, why the comic book thing? Because that doesn't make sense to me right off the bat for them to have a comic book. The whole, like, I feel like they were shooting for something that they couldn't really afford. Like, oh, we'll make him turn into this thing, but you couldn't afford to do that well, so you just, like, did a really bad drawing, and then suddenly this horrible costume came out that looked so bad.
This show and this episode in particular, it's the storytelling equivalent of walking through a funhouse where they use maybe a mirror to make it look like you're walking on a black and white checkerboard floor that's horizontal, but it slowly, gradually slopes so that you're constantly drifting toward one of the walls.
Exactly.
Or maybe one of those avalanche simulators where you're walking through a spinning tube so you start to feel like the ground is rotating.
Yeah, that's a great comparison.
You lose all equilibrium and sense of balance.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this episode broke my brain a little bit. Carmine, affable as always, weathers Jay's insults with aplomb. Carmine, affable as always, weathers Jay's insults with aplomb and gentle good humor. Jay inevitably takes out the cursed issue of Ferris and, oh, come on. Jay, you keep it folded in two? There's no way. As the room starts to shake and shudder, we learn Carmine keeps the entire inventory of Spencer's gifts on his desk, including one of those bed of pins you press your hand or face into to leave a relief image. So this episode just hit peak 80s. If men could have gotten canceled in the 80s, I'm sure those things would have been involved.
Do you know the things I'm referring to?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're referring to, yeah.
Have you ever seen one in real life?
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't know who had one, but someone had one when I was younger. They're oddly fun to play with.
Oh, they really are. So tactile.
Yeah, I know. Now I want one. Carmine is the first to dodge a Ferris attack, so is also the first to live long enough they had to abandon the slow motion effect as he tries to escape the building. Pulling the fire alarm. Good idea. But then, would the elevator still function? It's a freight elevator, so probably. But I've ridden in a fair number of freight elevators in my day, and I don't recall any with a wooden safety gate. Seems fishy. Although the piece of tape warning users to keep gate closed was a nice touch. And oh, Ferris burst right through the safety gate. Shouldn't have cheaped out and sprung for the metal gate instead. I would mock the image of Ferris patiently riding the elevator down to appear before Mickey and Ryan, but honestly, even Michael Myers tooled around in a wood-paneled station wagon in the first Halloween, so my hands are tied. Just wish we didn't have this dramatic music, but some late 80s Lionel Richie playing softly over the elevator speakers.
All night long.
That would have been really funny. That would have been actually adorable.
Just keep our musical theme going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got to sing at least 2 more times.
Maybe a shot of Ferris tapping his foot.
Oh, Mandy, well, she came and she gave without taking. That'd be funny.
Oh, what a feeling, dancing on the ceiling. I'm surprised. Let me guess, your mom?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that why you know Lionel Richie songs?
Oh, yeah. That's why I know all of those songs.
Can't wait till the kids rediscover him.
He gets in the next one. We didn't start the fire. That'd be cute. Upon being clearly seen by Ferris, Mickey and Ryan huddle against a wall? Are you joking? Again? You tried this 2 episodes ago in the boxing episode show. It didn't work then, and it doesn't work now. First, he already should have seen them. Second, yes, it's dark and they're kind of behind a cabinet, but it's also a hall. All this is doing is revealing just how little Cal or Jay or I'm sure the poor actor in the Ferris suit can see out of that enormous helmet. The poor actor in the Ferris costume. I thought about him a lot.
Yeah, I did too. My heart breaks for him.
I'm like, did you choose to walk like that, or is that the only way you can walk in that costume? Just wondering. Kind of explains why half his awkward punches miss and how he was felled by an elderly man with an extremely phallic trophy.
It's almost like they told the actor, do everything in slow motion, but then still decided to play the film in slow motion, so the effect is like super weird.
I know, it's so slow. I'm like, how is this thing supposed to be remotely scary? It's like slower than a sloth.
Yeah.
So slow.
Even by slasher standards, this thing's ridiculously slow.
Yeah.
When Mickey and Ryan tried to hide behind that cabinet in an open hallway, did your mind flash back to Shadow Boxer?
Yes, absolutely it did. I knew this would come up. I was like, this is just their answer to everything.
Shadow Boxer probably still even a little more ridiculous, but this is right up there.
Yes. Yeah. No, that one definitely was more ridiculous, but this one was still like, I guess this is just what they do when they don't know what to do.
Yeah, clearly it harkens back to Dr. Jack as well. When they were down in the basement, they basically had to hide in a hallway.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's right. Police? Police showing up to stop a criminal in Canada on this show? Well, saints be praised. I've always wondered what it feels like to make a disingenuous argument, so I'll just ask if anyone else noticed these 4 cops armed with pistols and shotguns told the hulking black figure to put its hands up, then, when it turned to continue on its way, unloaded everything they had into its back? Hey, I'm just a concerned citizen asking questions over here. Any social commentary you find in them is merely a reflection of your own guilty conscience. Ryan is stunned when the gunshots take Ferris down, but Mickey, wearing the mother of all brooches, attempts to explain to him the difference between comic books and reality.
Did you notice that thing?
The brooch, yeah, that's funny. It was big.
We see it better later, but it was insane.
It was really big. Very, very 80s. Very 80s.
Is brooch the right term for what that was?
Yeah, definitely. Did that cop just say, okay, let's call it in, okay. Did that cop just say, okay, let's call it in, get the shooting team out? You have something called a shooting team? That's alarming. Also, you just shot a man to death. Are you the shooting team? Are you saying you're leaving? Is this like people who refer to themselves in the third person? And come to think of it, you showed up to a fire alarm, swerved to a stop, then expended all ordnance on what you should have thought was an overzealous cosplayer. I guess this department really does own the night. Oh, our Black Knight is still twitching. It was just a flesh wound after all. Truly, another classic fake-out death. I declare Friday the 13th to be the most whimsical show of the season. Commercial break!
If you like the horror genre as much as we do, you can preview the horror comic book Requiem for a Psychopath right now, for free, at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. Imagine a world in which horror film slashers are real. Then imagine a troubled teen bringing one out of retirement to help him take revenge on his bullies. It was written by me and drawn by friend of the show, Stephen Yu. Again, that's Requiem for a Psychopath on the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And, if you dig it, please either review and rate it 5 stars on Amazon, or don't rate and review it at all. Ratings of less than 5 stars send the algorithm into murder mode for some reason. Thanks. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess those cops all just left, and before any new cops arrived, because Mickey and Ryan are just tailing Ferris as he lumbers off down a loading dock entrance or something. So the cops didn't call it in so much as phone it in. No questions, no paperwork, just good old-fashioned murdering. Speaking of phoning it in, Mickey and Ryan decide they've seen enough and leave. That's it. No better excuse for not pursuing Ferris. Apparently, boredom set in is reason enough. Another fresh angle on Curious Goods. Nice. I really like this director's use of high and low angle shots, and he clearly likes his shots to have depth. That makes 2 of us. Inside, Ryan suggests the only way to stop Ferris might be to get the pages Jay created decades ago in which Ferris is killed. To do this, he proposes they go to the source, Jay's home. Okay, but isn't the real source Ferris? Shouldn't you have followed him until he changed back? Yes. The answer is yes. Based on your knowledge of Ferris lore, you should suspect he'll turn back into a human holding the haunted comic. Speaking of staging in depth, nice shot of the Winchester mobile pulling to a stop so close to the lens, I'm guessing the cameraman dove for his life. And while I'm doling out compliments like lollipops, we get more great sound design here with the subtle addition of a distant train whistle. Really adds the feeling of being out of the city for once and makes an otherwise quiet moment a little more interesting. The following scene really underscores what a Ryan-centric episode this is. Unlike last visit to Jay's house, Mickey comes with this time, but just sits in the Winchester mobile while Ryan goes in alone. Even when she's present in this episode, she contributes almost nothing, save serving as a foil to Ryan, prodding him just enough to reveal hidden layers to his character.
Did you notice that?
Well, she annoyed me in this episode because she spent the whole time being like, this isn't real, there's no way, I'm sorry, I just can't believe this. And I'm like, this is stupid because she's been around for every other crazy supernatural thing that happened, so why would she suddenly not believe this one?
Person who tracks down a pen that writes reality and a living doll.
Yeah, and all of a sudden she's not going to believe him this time. It just didn't make sense to me. I thought it was really dumb.
Comics are a bridge too far.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you've seen a doll come alive and cut people's throats, but you suddenly don't believe that this comic book is coming to life? Like, why? She's like, that's just not possible, Ryan.
Definitely the Scully to his Mulder.
Mm-hmm. Ryan and Jay spend half the scene reenacting their previous encounter. Ferris is real. Ferris isn't real. I saw him. You saw a guy in a costume. He did the impossible. He's a fictional creation, etc., etc.
Could I just literally say, etc., etc.?
I knew you were going to say that. You know, etc., etc. is also correct. They're both correct.
Yeah, and I'm even more confused because I've studied those words in Spanish and Italian, and I can't remember which is which anymore, but yeah.
Etc., etc.
Cool. Now I've got the option. Thanks.
But what I said was correct, too.
All right. I'll put that in there.
Yeah. It's only when Ryan asks about the missing art of Ferris's death does the episode stop chugging and slip back into gear. Jay claims he doesn't know what happened to the art, so Mickey and Ryan drive off to check with the auction house. All this long scene accomplished was suggesting to Jay that the unpublished work he created might be the key to stopping Ferris / the haunted issue of Tales of the Undead. So it's probably time to unpack something I probably should have brought forth sooner. Jay created a haunted comic book and the material to defeat said haunted comic book, apparently blissfully unaware of having done so, and it's Ryan's visits that are inadvertently driving Jay's villainous actions. Now, clearly Jay is not a great guy, but Ryan is not only not preventing more death, he's at the core of Jay's supervillain origin story. After Charlie's death in the comic book store, Cal was just going to use the comic to be Carmine's Mickey Mouse, but Jay has killed 2 people and is about to kill a third, his caretaker. More on that in a second.
So I'm just going to chime in here editorially to say that I'm not even exactly correct at this point, but it's such... I can't even figure out what the truth is, so I didn't bother changing the script. But I mean, did you stop and think about this? Jay created the items, yet he never expresses any interest in the devil or diablerie or cursed items. He never used them for anything throughout his entire life. And then one day, Ryan shows up, says, oh, Ferris is real. And he's just totally on board with the supernatural thing. He knew how the comic would work because he created it. He knows Ferris's weakness because he wrote this unpublished issue. So he knows how everything works, yet at no point do we ever get any sense that he knows anything about the occult, the supernatural, or ever had a desire to use his comic for evil.
Yeah, it doesn't make, I mean, if you're asking if I thought about that, not in depth. It was like sitting in the back of my mind that it didn't make sense, but I didn't break it down like that. But it doesn't make any sense. Why, like you said, if he's not really expressing, like a lot of our bad characters have expressed, it's hard to even break it down.
Yeah.
A lot of our villainous characters in the other episodes are very clearly really evil people who want to do evil, but he's not really that way.
Right.
Like, he's not someone who's like, oh, I designed this to murder these people because that's what I get off on. So it really doesn't make any sense.
Right. He has that moment the first time Ryan comes to visit him where he's all alone, and then he kind of has a moment and he stands up like, oh, a big decision has been made. And in that moment, it's almost like he decided, I've known for 40 years that I created this supernatural thing somehow. And now I've decided I'm going to act on it for no particular reason.
Yeah.
When I was writing the script, I almost wanted to say that the creation of the comic was a Mobius strip, some kind of infinite loop. But then I realized that's not even really true. It's actually more of a broken chain situation where something doesn't quite complete the loop. Mm-hmm. And it's not a time travel situation. And it's not, like you said, it's difficult to explain.
Yeah.
But the closest I can come is it's the Schrodinger's plot point. It's simultaneously that Jay did and did not create the evil thing.
Right.
He simultaneously knows he created something supernatural and doesn't.
Yeah, there's definitely a missing piece there.
Yeah.
Of like, maybe, yeah, he created it, but something else needed to have turned it into something evil for an evil purpose.
Yeah, and it's only in his decision to act that these two possibilities collapse and one of them becomes the reality.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Sorry.
No.
Just giving your voice a rest.
No, that all was interesting. And circling back to Uncle Lewis's unclear deal with the devil, how exactly did Jay create a demonic comic book? He didn't seem to realize he did it, but jumps aboard the whole supernatural thing with zero question. Actually, both he and Cal used the comic's latent power without knowing how, or even that it had latent power. Equally troubling, there's only one set of unpublished art, but weren't thousands or even tens of thousands of Tales of the Undead issue #1 published? Are they all possessed by evil spirits? Or were they, but they've all been destroyed over time? Maybe, but this issue looks to be in mint condition, or at least if everyone would stop scrunching the damn thing up to stuff it in a pocket. Is that because it's evil? Because it was cared for? Because the prop department was very lazy? All of the above? This could have easily been solved and simplified if, instead of a printed comic book being the curio, it was a single page of Jay's original artwork for the comic book. Maybe an unprinted page. I mean, the episode already introduces this concept regarding the unpublished material, and this would create a nice symmetry. I just don't get it. Let's instead turn our attention toward the finer points of acting. Hill Street, prepare to take this portion right off the rails.
And really do feel free.
Okay. Actors go through a script and mark, or at least mentally note, beat changes, which are greatly simplified, changes in power dynamics, which a good actor expresses to the audience as a change in their character's emotional state. Of course, there are other clues and considerations in a script that inform a character's emotions. So navigating these, especially when they change quickly or seem to be at odds with each other, can be tricky. Let's examine a case study of that trickiness, shall we? In a roughly minute-and-a-half scene in Jay's basement, Jay's caretaker calls him an old fool while revealing she sold his artwork for a small fortune. Jay is furious, but reins himself in because he wants to know who she sold it to. Unfortunately, she won't tell him and continues to belittle him, asking if he really thinks she stuck around so long because she loves him. Loves him? She's appeared twice now, and nothing about their relationship conveyed love on either side. And she's not a younger wife, she's clearly defined as his employee, and a stern one at that. And the actor doesn't treat it as a beat change, potentially switching from cold cruelty to savoring twisting a knife in the old man's heart. Maybe the writer intended this wording to convey something like maternal love, maybe concern for his well-being. We'll never know, but between the writer, director, and actor, it feels like not everyone was on the same page, which makes this phrasing jump out in a way that distracts from the exchange. When she says she's going to pack, Jay, in a hairpin turn of acting, offers to let her stay, despite her transgresses. Now, on a dime, she has to pivot to surprise. Jay offers a good explanation, resigned acceptance of the fact he's not going to find anyone better, plus it's a ruse anyway, which the actor deftly portrays, so the writer is managing the scene well, but the production probably should have cut redundant material elsewhere to buy more time for this exchange, to let it breathe, as they say. Ideally, she probably should have headed upstairs, with us ending on Jay considering the situation. Then we'd cut to her packing, Jay would ominously appear behind her, the man is a ninja, and propose she stay, giving her 2 reasons to be surprised, both his appearance and his message. Back to the scene as written, the Grand Prix of acting continues. Having just won her back with 2 lines, Jay asks again about the buyer, and apparently grateful she gets to keep the job she hates despite just scoring a fortune, she reveals she sold it to a dealer who will flip it at the auction. Not sure why he told her his intention to resell it, but fine. And now she actually apologizes and claims she never kept any of it for herself. This was one straw too many. She doesn't deliver it well or play contrite very convincingly, and this might be partially the writer's fault. I don't know what that line means, so I don't blame the actor for not knowing, if that was the case. And if you don't know what your character means, you can't convey it. Enough craft, time for more killin'. Jay turns into Ferris, grabs his caretaker, then uses her to paint his wall red. Seriously, as I eternally underestimate the violence in this show, I thought he was going to just strangle her against it, but you'd be forgiven for assuming the actor accidentally reclined in crimson paint just before filming.
So what did you think of that scene in Hill Street?
I don't know. I mean, I understand your point about like the different beats and stuff. I mean, I refer to them as tactics. People trying to get their overall objective, what they ultimately want in the scene. What do they want? What are they trying to get out of the other person? And you use different tactics.
What's my motivation?
What's your motivation? And the characters are using different tactics to get it. So maybe you're trying to guilt trip them. Maybe you're trying to blame them. Maybe you're trying to, offend them. Whatever, use different tactics. Use different things to get to your ultimate goal. Because you try one thing, you try to get them to pity you, and that doesn't work. So then you switch to something else. So you need to see those different, as you're calling them, beats. You need to see those different tactics. And did you feel like the scene was pretty flat, like pretty one note?
Beats, I guess, almost are more from like an objective script point of view, whereas tactics are then what's driving those beats.
Right.
I did not think the caretaker's performance was very good. Anytime she wasn't just playing stern.
Mm-hmm. I can agree, yeah.
The other moments didn't work for me, and I think maybe some of that was a combination of how quickly the scene was written and then also filmed. There wasn't a ton of coverage, and like I said, it really felt like 2 Grand Prix cars racing on the curves of Monaco, and at some point they overdid it, collided, and just slid off the edge of a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it was too many turns too quickly that these actors weren't up for, and Ray Walston, the actor who plays Jay, is really good throughout the episode.
Yeah.
And he gives a good performance here, but even he has to make some pretty quick switches, and I don't think she was quite up to keeping up with them. I think the scene would have played better if it had a little more time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Combination of lingering on faces, seeing some reactions visually. I'm certainly not saying we need to jam in more lines. I'm never in favor of that. But if we'd spaced it out a little bit more between 2 locations, giving the actors time to think and come up with a new plan, I think it would have played better. I think cramming so many events into such a short time frame just resulted in a collision of acting beats that didn't work, and at some point motivations got lost. Some lines are very unclear. Like I said, I still don't know what they mean, so I don't know how you would play them. I just thought it was too much scene in too small a space.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't think the scene was good. I wasn't blaming the actors for it either. I mean, I didn't think that she was great, but I also thought the material was really bad here. So I didn't really blame her for it. I agree with what you're saying.
I'm all for concise storytelling, but when you're just racing to the next plot point, it doesn't always work if you don't spend a little time with the characters and understand what's motivating them.
And what's interesting is I don't usually feel that way about this show. I often feel like some scenes are really slow, but not this one.
Right. Oh, we'll talk about some slow ones pretty soon.
So, killing your caretaker in your own home? I'll assume Ferris is also invincible in a courtroom battle. The helmet-blind actor in the Ferris suit smacks into a hanging light on the way out, and I'm really not sure if it was intentional or not, but the sound department might have saved the day by adding a nice clank, thus turning a possible bug into a feature. If so, still more kudos for them. Commercial break!
Well, folks, we ran long again, so we're chopping this one in two. Just a reminder, as of the time of this recording, not one, but 2 YouTube channels offer every single episode of Friday the 13th, the series, so you can watch them all for free right along with us. Tune in next week to hear what Ferris the Invincible awkwardly bumps into next. I guarantee you won't want to miss it. Thanks for listening, everyone. We know you have a lot of choices when choosing a Friday the 13th the series podcast, and we sincerely thank you for choosing ours. Special thanks to Joshua Romeo for original music and to Stephen Yu for original art. And be sure to check out the Joe on Joe podcast, the only podcast where Joe Slepsky discusses G.I. Joe. If you want to support our show, you can leave a review and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you want an occasional update on our projects, you can sign up for our newsletter at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you want to know exactly how behind schedule our latest episode will be, you can find social media links on our website. Take care until then, and always remember what Carl said to Frylock, it don't matter. None of this matters. Good night, everybody.